I was raised on a small farm in Australia. Some 2,500 sheep, 600 head of beef, and a lot of chores to go around. But I actually enjoyed them. My favourite chore was trimming the old hedge that protected the homestead. It was 2 stories high and about a football field long. And I remember when I was 10, I was standing on top, looking over, trimming. Mum's in the kitchen. And I was moving from branch to branch. Then all of a sudden, I was falling through the hedge and my landing was soft. Then I realised that I was entangled in the barbed wire fence as the spikes of the barbed wire carved into my back. I didn't do that chore again. 15 years later, I'm in Special Forces and I'm about to start a parachute course that we've all got to do. And the first part of the training is to do your landings and rolls. So I hop up on the 3-foot box. Now I know it's only 3 foot, but it just doesn't feel safe. And I don't want to jump. And all I can see is myself falling through that hedge and those barbed wire spikes. The same was true for the 15-foot fan tower and the 100-foot Polish tower. How could this be happening to me? I'm Special Forces, and I'm terrified of heights. I'm so terrified that I devise interesting and special ways of jumping out of a perfectly safe aircraft 4 times a day, every day, at 12,500 feet. And one of those was simply to sit on the noisy old plane as it gained its height, got higher and higher, and it'd get bouncier as it moved through the clouds, and it also got colder and colder, and all the time I'd just force a smile. Then, 2 minutes out, I'd have to stand up with my combat pack strapped to my leg that weighs 100 pounds, and I'd shuffle down the back of the plane to the ramp. And on the command, go! I'd jump up into the air and I'd watch the plane fly off into the distance. Now I'm falling fairly fast already, but I've got to reach terminal velocity so that I can actually get some stability. Meanwhile, my stomach and its contents are trying to come out my throat. My chin strap's whacking me wildly on the side of the face, and I've just passed through a cloud, and all that rain is now on the outside of my goggles and I can't see a thing. Make it worse, I actually started to spin, so I counteracted and spun the other way, faster and faster and faster. Then everything started to turn grey, and that's all I could see as I fell towards Earth at over 160 miles an hour. 9,000 feet, 6,000 feet. I seen my hand coming in to grab my reserve chute, and I had to fight centrifugal force to pull the main chute, otherwise I would not survive. 4,000 feet. I'm only 25, and I didn't plan to go this way. 2,000 feet, all my Special Forces training kicked in and I managed to pull my chute just in time to set myself up for a very hard landing. I had to hide the pain and I pretended to brush off the dirt as I searched for broken bones. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see Sergeant Dave Quinn. He's my instructor. And he's heading straight for me. Now, Sergeant Quinn is a very hard man, and nothing phases him. And yet, there he stands, as white as a ghost. Spike, we couldn't look. We had to turn away. We all thought you were going to die. Then he looked me straight in the eye. I knew he was back to normal. And he said, now you know firsthand why each and every day we do those drills until they're perfected, before we even get in the plane. Get on that bus. You've got 3 more drills to do. But that is when I knew that safety saves lives, even in the midst of chaos. That near-death experience was 30 years ago, and even with 15 years of Special Forces, I've got to tell you, I'm still scared of heights. That hasn't left me. And also those 15 years of Special Forces has left me with a deep appreciation of the value they placed on life. Unlike a lot of organisations I've trained around the world, they all share one thing. Common sense is not common practice. And people get hurt for reasons that just don't make any sense at all. And they don't even train for safety. Safety is dangerous. People are so insulated from the dangers of work and life that they have forgotten to use their risk and safety muscle. They have also taken a view of being reluctant to embrace safety. It costs too much, it's over the top, or we just haven't got enough time. This thinking is actually dangerous. And then there's so many rules, procedures, or meetings that they've got to go to before they even get to work that they just tick the box without any review or verification. And when we tick that box, without review or verification, we're opening the door to the arch enemies of safety: complacency, ignorance, and stupidity. Every year, 2.3 million people die at work through a work-related accident, such as falling from height, being squished by a piece of equipment or livestock, or a disease such as cancer or worker-related asthma. That's one every 15 seconds. That's someone being killed every 15 seconds. People shouldn't have to go to work to die. And what they don't tell you is in that 15 seconds, there are over 150 other people that get injured. People being killed and injured at work is an issue that affects all of us, our families, our communities. And if we are going to build stronger leaders, safer households, communities, businesses, workplaces, we've got to do something about this crucial issue. Now, safety is dangerous, but it doesn't have to be. There were 3 mission-critical elements in my training that saved my life, that we can all put into practice, and the world will be a safer place. And the first one is train for stupid. Imagine a giant oil rig in the middle of the South China Sea. The company that owned it wanted to improve its production, so it sent out a team with all its equipment, and there they sat for 4 days doing the work. Beautiful sunshine, not a cloud in the sky, and the sea was as calm as anything to every horizon. So for the last 2 days, they didn't tie down the equipment. One little wave rolled through the ocean, just gently nudged the rig. Next thing you knew, there was columns of oil erupting into the air, clouds of explosive gases engulfing the platform. The oil that had gone into the air is now starting to come down on the people, the equipment, making it near on impossible for them to escape as the equipment itself started to fall. Then 3 lone gentlemen left there on the rig were running towards their lifeboat, only to see it drop to the sea and go to safety. They were later saved. However, that all happened simply because someone decided that they didn't have to tie down the equipment when they were supposed to. Those people barely escaped with their lives. The company lost millions of dollars, all because of what I call stupid. Now, many companies have that plaque on the wall. You've seen it, right? You know the one. Safety is our number 1 priority. When safety is a priority, you are taking a bigger risk than if it wasn't. Because priorities change like that. It needs to be a value, because when values are instilled, people become proactive. Safety stops being stupid. And people naturally go out of their way to do a better job and safer job. Now, training for stupid is no more than just looking at what could happen and being prepared for it. And you'd be surprised how many companies don't do that. What was the last task you did that you looked at every variable before you took on the job. Exactly. We can't leave safety to chance. And the person who does this the most, that most of us would know, is Michael Phelps. His trainer used to flick off the light while he was training and then mess with his goggles so that every variable would be there during his training, and when he came to the Olympics, he would be prepared for it. He won more gold medals than anyone else in the history of the Olympics. Now, we've looked at training for stupid, and it's critical, but you can't leave it there on its own. And if we are going to live safer and fulfilling lives, we need to give safety the respect it actually deserves. And so therefore, the second element is take calculated risks. Now, my own kids, I've seen what it was like in the Special Forces to actually take risks all the time. And they were calculated, they were shared, and you could see the development in the soldiers. So I decided to give my children little dad bites of calculated risks. And so they'd come to me and they go, "Dad, can we climb that tree?" I go, "Have you figured out how to get out of it yet?" They go, "No," and off they'd go. They'd come back 5 minutes later, "Dad, have you figured out how to get out of the tree yet?" And I'd go, "That's your job." And they'd go, "Right, this is how we get up, this is how we get down, and that's the branch we've got to stay off." "Sure, go have some fun. And remember, be safe." Then I'd teach them ninjutsu. And so in the middle of the class, I'd have a big stick and I'd be wheeling it around and they'd be ducking down and they'd be jumping up and they were having the time of their lives. And as long as they were smiling, I would actually go faster and faster and faster. Then you always have in the back of your head, am I doing the right thing? But one Saturday, there we were. We went to a barbecue, and all the kids there were about 7 and 9, so my kids fitted in really well, except there was one boy there who was 12, and he was pushing and prodding and tripping, and so it was a right little pest. So I went outside to give some adult supervision, and just as I was going out the door, I could see my son being pushed off the slide all the way down to the ground. And then he did a ninja backward roll, sprung up on his feet and ran away without missing a beat. That's when I knew that I'd actually instilled the right thing into my children. And nowadays, you actually hear it on the radio, and you hear parents talking all the time, "Oh, we've got to make our kids stretch, to make them develop and give them their full potential." That's actually true. The thing is, you've also got to do it to adults. Adults need to be stretched as well. We've got to stop wrapping them in their bubble wrap and have them take risks so they can exercise their safety and risk muscle. What was the last thing you did that you took a risk at? Took a calculated risk at? Because it's not about whether we win or we're successful. It's about the lessons that we learn along the way so that we can use them in later life. A person who actually went through this whole process, most of us know again, went from PayPal, took a giant calculated risk, to SpaceX and Tesla, Elon Musk. Now, as we look at the foundations of the 3 mission critical elements, we've listened to train for stupid, and we've looked at taking calculated risks. The last one is essential, and the third one is let them fail. When I was 24, I was heading out into one of the remotest deserts in Australia. So arid, so barren, that maps are hand-drawn. We were trialling 2 brand new vehicles, military vehicles, machine guns front and rear, state-of-the-art satellite navigation system, and we just went over halfway and the satellite started talking to the sat-nav system. Beep, 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 beep. Beep. And the young officer sitting in the front turned around and said, "Spike, what was that?" I said, "Oh, that's the point of no return." Point of no return? Yes, sir. The satellite navigation's worked out that we've only got enough fuel to get back from here where we started, and we haven't got enough for the rest of our mission. "Spike, I've been doing this for years. I know what I'm doing, and I reckon we've got a full drum spare. Now, I could actually go, because I had the data right in front of me. Do I let him fail and learn the lesson, or do I fight? So I looked at all the scenarios and went through what could happen, and it went something like this. Food, 6 months worth, check. Water, 1 month's worth, check. Ammunition for wild animals, check. Beer, 4 cans, damn. Medical supplies, enough for a small hospital, tick. So then I sat back and watched this lesson unfold. And sure enough, 2 days later, there we were, sitting on a sand dune, looking at all the other hundreds of sand dunes for miles. It took 4 days for a special forces pathfinder team to actually come in, find us in the first place, then resupply us. Now, that young officer actually went on to be one of the better officers in the unit. And why is that? It's because now his library is starting to fill up with what worked and what didn't work. And when it called upon at the right time, he was able to use it. And if we are going to grow our own leaders for the future, we've got to let them fail as well. When was the last time you let someone you loved, your children, a colleague, fail? Because it's in that failure they learn the lesson, they learn the growth. And where would we be today if Thomas Edison, with all those hundreds of failures, gave up? We wouldn't have the light bulb and we wouldn't have the battery. Now, look, safety is dangerous and lives are at risk. And you have a choice. You can be with the status quo, or you can put these mission critical elements into your life now for you. Imagine if we all, every one of us, took or looked at training for stupid in everything we did. And imagine if we took calculated risks in the things we do. That's just who we are. And imagine if we let them fail. That's a world I'd like to live in. So, make safety a value and be safe. Thank you. Thank you.